Okay, so the last time we spoke, I asked you a question about epigenetics, and you explained to us that before we get into all of that, we need to know the difference between genetics and epigenetics and understand some fundamentals. Could you explain some of that to us again?
Okay, we're going to absolutely. This is genetics 101, and it's such an important conversation. All right. So, in order to understand the world of genetics, the whole world of genetics, we need to define separately the concept of genetics versus the concepts of epigenetics. There is a lot of confusion happening out there in the marketplace. So, let's start with genetics. So, we as human beings have this DNA sequence code, right? We have cells, and inside our cells, we have nucleus, and inside the nucleus are 23 pairs of chromosomes. And when you unwind these chromosomes and lay them out flat, all it actually looks like is a code. And this code is made of C, T, and A, G letters. So just like English has got a language of 26 letters, genetics has got a language of 4 letters, C, T, A, G. And the amazing thing is everything about who we are and how we exist and respond to the world around us is written in this sequence code, in these letters. But 99.9% of the time, the letters, the code, the sequence is identical for all of us. But at 0.1%, we will find different spelling in our sequence code. And these spelling changes, we call them single nucleotide polymorphisms, which is the fancy science word. I like to call them gene variants or gene variations. Sometimes I just call them spelling changes. And it's these differences between our code that make us who we are, that make us different, whether it's in how we respond to stress or to toxins, how tall we are, how the color of our eyes would be a simple one. It could be how we manage glucose or hormones. So everything about these spelling changes changes the way we respond, diet, lifestyle, exercise, toxins, etc. I think you got the point. So that's genetics. So we can look at our genetics with a cheek swab. We take out the cells from your cheek. We go inside, we extract the DNA, and we read and look for these spelling changes, and then we can understand more about who you are. So that's the world of genetics. That's my world. Very exciting world to be in. But then there is epigenetics. So these spelling changes, this DNA sequence code does not change in your lifetime. So whether you do a genetic test when you're born or you do it when you're 60, you're going to get the same sequence code. Okay, now here's the other 50% of this world of genetics. Epigenetics is not about the sequence code and why ours is different. It's about how genes express. Now, the word express, I always have many words I use for it. So how genes behave, how genes express, but essentially what it is how genes switch on and switch off. So when an enzyme or a hormone or brain message or anything like that needs to be made, we need to switch on the gene. The gene then goes and makes the protein, which is that enzyme or hormone, and gets it to work. So every single second of every single day of our entire lifetime, there is this continuous switching on and switching off of genes that really determines how our body works. So if you imagine when our body is encountering toxins in the environment, maybe we're in a city with lots of pollution and our body's like overwhelmed, it's going to go and switch on detox genes. And when you switch on detox genes, you make detox enzymes. So when you have detox enzymes, you can help clear the toxins from the pollution out your body. So epigenetics is how we switch on and switch off genes. Now, the really cool thing about epigenetics is the reason that genes are switched on and switched off depends on the choices we make and the environments that we're in. So I gave a perfect example where you're in a very toxic environment, lots of pollutants, it will switch on detox genes. You can, let's think of a very positive one. You eat cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and it also switches on detox genes, right? Because it wants to clear toxins. We think of inflammation. You take omega-3 fatty acids, the wonderful fish oils, and it's going to switch off inflammatory genes. So genetics is always two conversations. Know who you are from your genetic sequence code and how you respond to the world, and then make really good choices to be able to optimize the way your genes switch on and switch off.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So now refresh me. Did you say that 99.9% of
Yes,
our genome is shared in
the
common?
same.
So it comes down to
Yes.
0.01% roughly.
Yeah, and it doesn't 0.1%, and it doesn't sound a lot, but actually it is a lot. So these spelling letters, these A's, T's, and C's and G's, we have about 3 to 4 billion of them in our DNA. So just in one cell, in that the 23 pairs of chromosomes, there are 3 to 4 billion of these letters. So if we're different at 0.1%, we're still different at 3 to 4 million places. Doesn't sound like a lot, but suddenly it's like, oh, wow, that is quite different. Of course, not all of those spelling changes matter. Some of them are called silent gene variants, that they don't actually change the body in any way or any way that we know of. But there are spelling changes that we do know what they do, and we do know how they affect us. And those are the ones that we are interested in. So it's going to be in the hundreds, and it's not going to be in the millions.
I see. Okay. And you also said that the decisions you make from moment to moment can change the expression of the genetic code that you have. So, I mean, usually when healthcare providers are talking about making life changes, they're talking about a very long-term plan to see slow changes. But on the genetic level, some of these changes are happening literally minute by minute, as opposed to month by month.
Absolutely. So this is what's so exciting, because people, this idea that, oh, we have to eat a healthy diet, and if we eat a healthy diet for a couple of years, that'll help us. But actually, what we know from epigenetics, from gene expression, is that every single decision, every minute of the day is going to switch on and switch off genes. And the really great thing about that is the power we have to change our health.
Right.
Happens in every moment, right?
Yeah.
In every moment. And so if this moment is not working out so well, and maybe you had, like, I don't know, a triple espresso for breakfast and you're feeling really buzzed, you don't have to wait months to make the next big decision to be able to help your genes optimize the way that they're affecting your health. So the great thing is every choice we make, sometimes the choices are maybe not going to be so great, but fantastic. The next choice you make can really, really change your health.
That is very empowering. So if you make a poor decision, the very next minute you can find some redemption. And when you're making choices, you can remember that it's not going to follow you maybe a year from now, but you're making a change immediately.
And of course, when you start balancing it out, that you're making more good choices than poor choices,
Right.
that's going to have an impact on your long-term health.
Mm-hmm.
But every single choice you make, every second and minute of the day is switching on and switching off genes.
Very good. So we're all very accountable for the decisions we're making every day.
And only to yourself, of course, because it's you
Right.
and your, it's between you and your genes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a lot about diet considerations that can help us have a more positive genetic manifestation. Are there any other lifestyle choices that you recommend that you think are particularly powerful in influencing the epigenetics?
Yeah, so they kind of all are. Again, I'll give you more detail, but I just want to say, every decision matters. So let's think about what that means. So that'll be the food we're eating.
Okay.
It'll be when we're eating it and how much we're eating. It'll be the quality of the food that we're eating is obviously like so important. So if we're eating processed foods, if we're eating lots of sugary foods, like lots of corn syrup and stuff, those are not the genes that you want to be switching on, right? So the amount of food, the quality of food, where you're sourcing your food, how you're cooking your food, everything's going to change gene expression. Then, of course, lifestyle. So what does that mean? Sleep is going to change gene expression, all right? Exercise goes without saying. When you exercise, you switch on genes. When you exercise in a really healthy, like moderate way, you actually really help your body with inflammation. You decrease the inflammation. If you overtrain and you're going for one of those super big events like Ironman, you actually overwhelm your body with inflammation and oxidative stress. So it's all about like finding that perfect place. Okay, so exercise goes there. What about the weather? So here's what's interesting. Weather can change gene expression. So I'm based in Seattle. I can tell you for sure that weather changes my gene expression. So when we talk about seasonal affective disorder, why do some of us really battle living in Seattle with the gray and the dark and the rain? It's because that the weather conditions are actually changing the way our genes express, and that can change our mood. So that mood is coming from gene expression. What about laughing, connecting with friends, giving your friends a hug? Changes gene expression. All right. So
Wow.
loneliness, the flip side of that is loneliness. Think of the COVID times when we were also disconnected,
Hmm.
and how everyone's health, mental and physical, was so badly. It's because something like loneliness has a significant impact on gene expression, in the same way that having a hug from a friend or laughing or experiencing joy has the opposite effect. So I can tell you that there isn't a thing that you can think of that exists in your world that doesn't impact gene expression. Maybe it's medicine you're taking, maybe it's supplements you're taking, maybe it's radiation you've been exposed to, is the weather, connection, community. And that's why when we think of like the blue zones, you think about like these people who live to these amazing why? Because if you only look at their diet, yes, their diet is good, but it's not enough to account for it. And all of them, without exception, have community.
Right.
All of
Excellent.
them,
Yes.
without exception, have community, and they have joyfulness, and they dance and they sing. It's because all these things change gene expression.
Oh, it's fantastic. I would like to go to one of those blue zones.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That'd be nice. Okay, I'm just double checking these questions here. We've covered a lot. I think we've covered almost everything. Um, okay, so I do know that epigenetics have received a lot of hype in some circles in recent years. To avoid being faddish, are there any limitations or myths that you want to dispel about epigenetics?
Okay, great question. So I love, as you can hear, I love genetics and I love epigenetics. And I love them together. I call them the yin and yang of genetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You use sequence code to know who you are, and where you need to focus your attention, and you use epigenetics to go, I'm going to make great choices. But
Right.
here's the limitation. Here's the caveat, that it is possible to do a genetic test. It's just a cheek swab, and understand who you are and what you need to focus on and how you experience things and how you respond. The problem with epigenetics is that currently there are some tests in the marketplace that are selling epigenetic testing. And what it actually is you do a test where they're able to look at gene expression, what we call methylation patterns.
Right.
The problem is epigenetic testing is kind of where genetic testing was 15 years ago. 15, 20 years ago, we were really good. We were starting to learn how to test for genetics. We didn't understand how to translate the data. And that's kind of where we are with epigenetic testing, that we can do the test that shows switching on and switching off genes, but the way the data comes out from testing, we're really not good at being able to say, this is what you should eat for breakfast, and this is the supplement you take, and this is the kind of exercise you do. So I think the limitation of epigenetics is the concept is excellent, which is let's use epigenetics to make the best possible choices. The limitation of epigenetics is that the current testing environment for epigenetics isn't there yet. It will get there, but I reckon it needs at least another 5 years before we're able to really extract that value.
I see. All right, so it sounds like there's a fairly solid general basis that everyone can abide by to do their best to optimize their genetic expression. But when it
Yes.
comes to an individualized plan, we're not quite there yet. However, your
Not for
business model.
epigenetics, but we are for genetics.
Right, yes. Yes for
Yes.
genetics, not quite for epigenetic expression.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you. That does sound like you are helping to bridge that gap, however, when it comes to actually applying what we know about our own genome. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about it's 3x4 genetics? No, 3x4. 3x4 genetics.
Ex-boyfriend.
Thank
Remember,
you.
yeah.
3x4.
Yeah. So what does 3x4 genetics do? So we have a genetic test. So I've been working in this area for 24 years now, and we built a genetic test. And the reason we've done this is we look at your spelling changes. And we look at everything from detox and inflammation, glucose, insulin, hormones, histamine, memory, mood, cardiovascular stuff. We look at how do some of us experience our weight journey? Why do some of us gain weight so easily and find it so hard to lose weight? Why are some of us more hungry than others and battle to feel full? Why do some of us store energy more? So we look at that. We look at gene variants or spelling changes and how we respond to exercise and training. Why for some of us it's harder to get close to that front pack. That's me. Injury susceptibility in training. How do I recover from our training? And then lastly, we look at gene variants that impact nutrients, whether it's iron or gluten, vitamin A or caffeine, vitamin B12. So, and using all of this, we're now able to personalize for you what you need to do better to really optimize the genes that you have inherited from your parents. So it's called 3x4 Genetics. We work with an amazing community of clinicians all around the USA who have been trained and educated and mentored to be able to look at this genetic report and be able to really extract those clinical gems to really ultimately personalize whatever it is that you're looking for, whether it's weight management, whether it's sports nutrition, whether it's a chronic disease that you've been really battling with and doctors are just not finding the answers. And of course, those that are looking for optimal health. You know, we're all looking for our longevity hacks and optimal health. So we're able to address all of that because everything is in our one report. And then the way our practitioners are taught is they're taught how to read the genetics to see who you are and again where we need to work, but they also taught on how to plan a diet, lifestyle, supplement protocol for you to optimize that gene expression for the epigenetics to switch on and switch off genes. So it's been a very exciting journey, and we have some incredible case studies and testimonials of how it really, really is able to change people's lives. And I know it sounds cliched, but it really does.
Well, it does sound like it takes care of a lot of the guesswork, a lot of the question marks, a lot of the interpretation that might not be so accurate.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
I've actually given it a lot of thought since our last interview, and I'm very compelled by this idea. So we may be looking a little more
Excellent.
into it. Yes.
Good, yeah.
All right. Well, Yael, thank you so much for, I don't know, the third, fourth chance that we've needed for this interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close up?
Eat a lot of broccoli. You can't go wrong.
I have been eating way more broccoli since the last time we met.
Excellent. Well, there you go. If you're going to make one change, eat more broccoli.
It's the broccoli. Raw broccoli and chew it really well, right?
And chew it. There you go. Eat raw broccoli or cauliflower, but broccoli wins, and chew it really well. Don't cook it. Eat it raw.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's
All
it.
right. Well, thank you so much for your endless patience and your endless wisdom, and you'll be hearing from us again.
Wonderful. Thanks, PJ. Thanks
Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.